Thank you, McKell. I just so appreciate all of you being here. Every time I said to McKell, every time I come out here, I can't wipe the smile off my face. It's just such an amazing thing, and Pam Perlich said it the right way today. It's a triumph. It really is. So thank you for being here. We just so appreciate you and your advocacy and what you've invested into this building and your time and your energy and the volunteering that happens in this building. So thank you again, and what a great day. Welcome to everybody who's here, and thank you again.
So as we gather here, the mayor's going to explain a little bit about what has brought us together today. I have the boring part to give you a little bit of background with the slides and stuff a little bit later as we have the opportunity to do that. But we might switch the schedule just a little bit because I found that this incredibly illustrious group of leaders are also overcommitted, some of them speaking in other locations within the next half hour or so. Huh, President Pershing? Anyway. So let me introduce our city partner. As I first met Mayor Ralph Becker as he's running for office, he wanted to learn and understand schools so that he could campaign around things that would make a difference. And then as elected as the new mayor of Salt Lake City, he then wanted to sit down and figure out how do we leverage our individual missions and opportunities and our resources to better serve not only kids for us, but the community at large for all of us, because the young people become our greatest asset within the community. So tonight you will see a symbolic but very, very important event of these great leaders that will be signing a document that binds us to a mission of doing better and deeper for families and kids throughout Salt Lake City, from the day they're born into this world to the day they become adult learners. And historically, these kinds of events, sometimes people only use one pen and then they fight over who gets to keep it. But the most important part is that people are actually signing publicly that we've figured out some ways to better serve the community, and we're going to get even better at that as we move along. And so these documents mean a lot. In the history of my life, I've seen events like this actually start to put to rest nuclear weapons. I've seen it put to rest divisions among countries that are in conflict and war. For us, it's a formal way in which to bring together our abilities to leverage each other to make our community better. So with that, it's such a privilege to introduce Mayor Ralph Becker as the key partner in the city for this activity.
Well, good evening, McKell. That was awfully kind. A lot of times he says he thought when I started I wanted to take over the school system, and I didn't then, I don't now. I appreciate that you are running our public schools, and that we have such an incredibly committed and dedicated group of folks, many of whom are here tonight. So I get to talk a little bit about what we are signing this evening, and give some thanks to people who have been working on it. But I want to, I guess, start by noting folks in our office and in the school district and some of our other partners who have played a critical role in bringing us to a point today that is really a launch for what folks have been working on a long time. Joan Milner in our office, who has been the city's education coordinator from the time I started, is a position that started with my administration. And when I went to McKell and I said, McKell, I really want to do something that is really meaningful from the city side, he has partnered from us in the beginning and said, you know what, I'll pay half of a person's salary. And we've been very fortunate that Joanne has led that effort for us. I see we have the data divas in the audience. That is a term, an inside term, that reflects the folks from the university and from the city and from the school district, and I know other places, but as the primary places, to give us the foundational information that we need and the ability to be able to assess and measure our success as we achieve it. So I want to particularly note those folks who have been working literally day in and day out from the time that we started that lead us to this point. What we're signing today is a collaborative agreement, and those are two terms that are sometimes misused or overused or abused, I think, in our work that we do, where we try to come together to accomplish things. And in the case of this, we're certainly not going to be ridding the world of nuclear weapons, as nice as that might be. But we are doing something that is probably as important for the future of this community. And as McKell has mentioned, and as we have so many people here who are committed to trying to make sure that every single child in our community has an equal opportunity to realize success for themselves and for our broader community through what is offered in education and no other way, which is the ability to be successful in learning, to be successful in education, and ultimately to have that the options that only education provide. And we all know that in our lives. So I'm so glad that we've got a couple of days here where we're participating in the Family and Community Forum to sort of discuss in more detail and to really flesh out what education opportunities there are now as a result of this agreement. I want to also especially thank the Lumina Foundation and the National League of Cities, who have provided some extensive and really incredible leadership training and technical assistance to us in the development of this plan. Their work has been, and really contributions in funding and in technical assistance, has been the key for us to be able to pull together what we're launching today. And that really is this capital city education, cultivating a college, career, and civic-ready environment in Salt Lake City. Now, those are maybe in some respects a lot of words. As a planner, you know, I love plans. But plans don't mean anything unless they are embraced by the people who are involved and have the ability to have the results that we want from the plans we create. And I know from the work that I've been doing and our folks have been doing, I'm using that word collectively, with the Lumina Foundation, they have provided not only just kind of a framework and expertise, but they really have given us the guidance that we need to give every assurance that we will be successful. So I really appreciate the Lumina Foundation for the work they've done, for being here, for the National League of Cities as well, for the work that they've done as well and being here. This agreement is really the first of its kind for ourselves. It's not necessarily the first of its kind nationally, but it's the first of its kind for us, bringing the private and public sectors together, all of the various partners together associated with education, in a commitment of shared goals, and in a commitment that starts with prenatal education for our families, and carries us all the way through post-secondary education with career pathways. And as our City Council Chair, LaMalfa, likes to really talk about and focus on, and in terms of civic engagement, because that is, obviously from a city's perspective, but from our community's perspective, such an important part of what we hope our kids will learn as an integral part of their education. And then we all benefit that much more. This plan that we are all signing on to today will be rolling out in January of next year. But we're really at that stage now where we're confident in its direction and what it's doing for us. It's providing not only a reflection in learning from our past experiences and practices that have been tested, but as I mentioned with the data divas, It is providing for a data-informed effort and process going forward. And we hear a lot of very justified criticism in the education community about how we just get bombarded and teachers get bombarded with tests and testing. And that really can interfere with learning. And I'm a subscriber to that notion that it's always changing. Too much of teaching is directed by testing and not towards helping our kids learn. But it is also important, I've become a firm believer in being able to measure success. And it needs to happen with each student and in each classroom and in each school. And I think we have a system now that's taken a lot of time and work to build a foundation for, that's going to enable us to do that so that we have that individualized success, which is what we're all seeking, so that each child can have that success. So there's certainly going to be more information involved with this. I know a number of us need to be in other places, but this is an opportunity for us all to sit down and to sign this agreement that's really been a wonderful cooperative effort over several years now. So thanks for allowing me to kind of kick this off, and we'll do that. And then I'm not sure quite the order of this. I know there are more things this evening and certainly all day tomorrow, but.
Yeah, let me just intervene real quick so we can do that. Anyone who hasn't had a tour of this facility, please do so before you leave tonight, because these are the key partners between higher ed, the city, and public ed that enable the broader leveraging across all the other agencies that are partners here. How many in the audience are partners and providers here tonight? Okay, so University Neighborhood Partners with Rosie's one of the key foundations behind this, along with the city and the school district. So let me just point out National League of Cities and Towns, so you know how to connect names and faces. President, University of Utah. Acting President, Salt Lake Community College. Community Council Chair, Kyle LaMalfa, you should know well in this community as a great advocate and a connector with this facility and the programming for this facility. But as the mayor mentioned just a few months back, he says, give us that civic part. We want to take that on. Has been in classrooms talking with kids about civic engagement. Kristi, Swett, you met as our board president. Then next to her, Mrs. Beattie, representing the Salt Lake Chamber of Commerce, which is really the state's Chamber of Commerce in terms of messaging and connection, and the overlap for this cradle to career or childhood to adulthood is under a Prosperity 2020 umbrella and economic development as well. And so thank you for being here tonight. We did hear that Lane said you could sign for him, so we need to talk before you go because we got lots of things to do. So that's who is here with you tonight. The slides will give you some background about the center, and so we'll do that after all of this for anyone that would like to come up and huddle around, and I'll talk you through that. I know that if there are questions from the press, we'll do that after signing this as well, but the point tonight is to celebrate, to look around, get to know each other, and have us recognized for not only the effort that's led to today, but the starting point, as the mayor mentioned, coming in January. So with that, I don't know, I think you should sign first. Your name's all over this, Mayor. Then I guess we sign the one you have and pass it along, and that should work out.
All right. Thank you for handling these introductions as well.
And I might just say that they're signing copies so that each one of them, each institution, will have a formal copy of this agreement. So there's going to be signing seven signatories, and you're witnessing that. And after they finish their signing, we're going to actually ask Marjorie Cohen from the NLC to join and make your comments now. Sure. Be happy to.
I do not have to sign. As Joanne mentioned, my name is Marjorie Cohen, and I'm the Principal Associate for Education at the National League of Cities. We are so pleased to be partners with Salt Lake City and the Lumina Foundation in such an important work. The Lumina Foundation, as the mayor mentioned, as a leading partner, provides funding for the National League of Cities to work with cities across the country to reach the foundation's goal 2025, which is to increase the proportion of Americans with high-quality college degrees, certificates, or other credentials to 60% by 2025. Unfortunately, no one from Lumina could be here today, but they did ask me to read a short statement on their behalf. So on behalf of my colleagues at the Lumina Foundation, I congratulate Salt Lake City for its effort to create a capital city education. Your collaborative work to align your community's assets to ensure that all Salt Lake City residents have access to a high-quality post-secondary option is on the leading edge of a national movement and is to be commended. I'm very sorry not to be able to be with you today, but we will be watching your city closely and look forward to working in partnership with you and the National League of Cities to advance your post-secondary education goals and share your story with the nation. So to give you a little bit of background about a more nationwide perspective, Salt Lake City is actually one of 8 cities nationwide participating in NLC's CAPS initiative, which works one-on-one with cities to pursue community-wide completion goals and improve the use of data to support these goals. Much like the mayor mentioned, we are providing technical assistance and facilitation, and really we're just here to help make things more comfortable and provide the best evidence and the best types of practices out there. And we're thrilled to be working with Mayor Becker on this initiative because he is not only a strong leader for education in Salt Lake City, but he is also a strong advocate on the national level. So he's actually the National League of Cities' current second vice president, which basically means that come 2014, he will be NLC's president. And Mayor Becker has joined with other mayors who care deeply about these issues by co-chairing our Mayor's Education Reform Task Force. For the CAPS initiative, the League of Cities' role is to work closely with the Lumina Foundation to think through the best way to support Salt Lake and other cities in working together to achieve post-secondary success. We basically help cities to, 1, leverage the power of the mayor, and 2, help ensure the engagement of other critical leaders and partners in the community, as you all are doing today with the Capital City Education Collaborative Agreement. NLC is committed to supporting city leaders and their local partners, and we absolutely appreciate the opportunity to work with Salt Lake City's leaders on the ground, and I'm thrilled to be here for the next couple days. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Because you're going to get the fast version here of what's next tonight. And it's related to what we call the pedal people. Can you hear me okay? No? Well, I got a nod in the back of the room. So I'm good. As long as there's one person that can hear me, we're good. All right.
Okay, so this is the first time for the families, so you might want to do
I'd be happy.
presentation. And can you hear him in the back there? Okay, good.
Well, that's great. Didn't mean to go too fast. So one of the big questions that's out there is, as the city continues to have demographic changes and needs change, can we be smart enough to figure out what those needs are and then find ways to leverage resources, help one another to extend those resources, and then make a difference? So the vision of this center is connected around a couple of anchors. Early childhood education, that Rockstar staff belongs to us. Ann and company back here, raise your hands. And Robin and Marjorie. So even though the state hasn't stepped up to fund pre-K, we have engaged in having pre-K programs and full-day kindergarten programs, and that early childhood learning comes through their office. That's a key anchor. The center of the building is about wellness, with the key partner being Intermountain Healthcare. But then you'll also see other partners, Visions, Friends for Sight, the new dental training hospital. What can I think of? Rosemont. As our partner on the dental side, and then Valley Mental Health with the services for families are all located here in the community to be able to leverage resources, help one another, not only be more efficient, but to break the cycle of generational poverty. I was fortunate enough to speak at a PTA group earlier this morning that their theme is about breaking that cycle of intergenerational poverty. So early childhood and wellness. Then another side is about community learning. How do you bring parents here so that they are so comfortable being here that they take ownership of parts of the programming and the building? That has already begun to happen in some awesome ways. So the building represents a manner in which you bring people together that they otherwise couldn't do, that you break down some of the turf barriers, and then you enable people to be more thoughtful in the manner they use resources to serve and leverage those resources to be able to help broader than they would be able to do on their own. So that's why hopefully you'll take some time tonight to look at that. So as those demographics change, we have to be smart enough to continually rethink what are the priorities and how do we leverage those partnerships. So the way in which we try to illustrate that, looking at the demographics, this will just help the families. I know one of the rock stars that Mayor Becker was talking about, Pam Perlich, as a key partner. Pam, come on, Dr. Perlich. Dr. Perlich has been on a quest for at least the last 7 to 8 years that I know of, trying to help leaders across the whole state understand the changing demographics are important to know about, to pay attention to, and then to do something with in positive, productive ways. And she's brought lots of people kicking and screaming to the thought table about what that means. Because the whole world is here, and the richness of the data is being enhanced with investments from the city. Thank you, Kyle and Mayor, for doing that. And so this is just demographic data that I'm sure you can't read all the way back, but it's state of Utah demographics, Salt Lake City demographics. Point out just a couple of quick things. State of Utah poverty level is about 11%. Salt Lake City poverty level is about 18%. Non-English speaking across the state is about 14%. In the city, it's about 27%. But now let's look at a subset of the city, which is the Salt Lake City School District. And so now poverty jumps across the whole district to 62%. Limited English speaking jumps to 36%. And then the right-hand side is about investment communities like this one, where a community learning center is. And what we mean by investment communities is that the richness of the diversity sometimes is tempered with the burdens of poverty. And so how do we work together to break those cycles of poverty and open the doors that education can only open? So you'll see poverty for our kids across the district, 62%. In these communities, it's over 90%. Limited English proficient across the district, about 37%. In these communities, about 71%. But guess what? Former limited English proficient kids or non-native speakers outperform native speakers over time if you stay in our schools. So great news that's out there. So then how do we try and communicate that to others? When you call it a cultivation model, you better have some roots in the ground and something that's growing up top. So that's why you'll hear more tonight from the petal masters, that each of the petals represents a stage in learning. And so we talk about being ready to learn, that the actual physical cognitive development for young people is its richest from birth to age 4. So being ready to learn is critical. Nutrition, exposure to language, extending vocabulary, having other experiences and other people in your life is just critical. So how do we help one another go from prenatal to those first 5 years in ways that move that forward? Call that ready to learn. The next phase being learning to learn. If you can read by the end of 3rd grade, lots of doors open for you that otherwise wouldn't open. So you're learning to read to that point on. From then on, it's often said you're now reading to learn. Learning to read, then reading to learn in those early years from 5 to 11 years old. So that commitments around literacy and early literacy skills, that's why the mayor and school district summits have been around early literacy. The third petal, or third area, is at 12 to 18 years old. the time that they scare their parents to death, because they do lots of interesting, weird things, right? You go from crisis to euphoria, and it can all be based on a phone call, a smile, or a pimple. Doesn't matter what it is. But during that period of time, if you don't have genuine opportunities to learn and experience things out in the community, doors don't open. Our deepest partner there is Salt Lake Community College in trying to find ways for first-generation college goers to actually get there and be able to fund it and then move on after that. So that partnership is rich, and thank you. Because if you can't experience things that are different, that have you thinking about what's possible for you, and then see an avenue to actually get there with partners who are willing to open doors for you, poverty doesn't change. So that's a critical time. The next phase, I can't remember if I pushed this twice, looks like I do, is exploring learning. So now you're out of school. What do? Do you wander around? No. You figure out what it means under that Prosperity 2020 umbrella, that 66% of our population needs something beyond high school. What is that? It can be a rich technical skill, or it can be a higher education, license, certification, or degree. And that is now exploring learning with all those skills. What do you want to do? So you'll hear in the media under economic development that we have a deep need for more engineers. We have plenty of kids highly capable of doing engineering, but they don't want to become engineers. They're interested in other things. So how do we get better information to connect learners with opportunities and then open doors? Now, even though there are enough today, going out 10 years, there aren't enough. And so every student will need something beyond high school in the future. It's a very big demographic change, again, in our population that we haven't experienced before. Part of it is just the number of young people versus the number of old people, but part of it's also that the world is flat and it requires more thoughtful engagement in the community across multiple mediums. And so being able to try on your skills in different industries and in higher education becomes very important. And then it never ends, which is the fun part, right? You live to learn. Isn't it fun to learn something new every day? And hopefully tonight you'll learn something or meet someone new tonight that will enrich your life. So that's what the cultivation model is. The other pieces to it are to just think about the manner in which you braid those resources together. So we believe that we have the best partnership that we've seen across this country between public ed, higher ed, the business community, and the city offices here in Salt Lake City. That's what we mean by braided resources. But we need all partners, which means the investments have to come from families, with your time, energy, with your kids and other families, from the community, which is everything from parent organizations to nonprofit organizations, the public, private, and philanthropic area, along with the nonprofits and faith-based contributors. That's what all of that requires to be successful. And then what happens is those smiles not only open doors and hearts, but they actually are prepared to compete with anybody in the world. That's what it's about.